Hey,
How you doing?
I think I might be doing better than you. You don't sound so good. What's going
Oh, I'm
on?
good. I worked today. Just the heat. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies.
Hi, Georgette. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Good. All right. The gang's all here. We are actually currently live streaming, I do believe. Okay, looks like it. I'm saying it like that because I have been sitting here since 5:30, um, trying to get us started, and just everything was moving so slow. When I went to open up Zoom, it said I had been signed out, and then I had to go through the whole sign in, the 2-step, the 3-step, the like.
Mhm.
And then YouTube was being very funky. Just, you sit and you watch that little dial go round and round and round. And anyway, we're here. We're here. So, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay. Yeah, I've had some electronic and internet problems myself, so I'm sad and slightly glad that I'm not alone. I
What
thought it was
happened?
me. Oh, just everything was just so slow, and I'm like, I'm not at the top tier of the internet. I don't have a lot of people using devices. So why is it so slow? So just some stuff. There's some stuff going on. And it's not
Yeah.
us. I know that it's not
Yeah.
us.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we might as well go ahead and get started. Where's my little welcome? I don't know what time I should start doing setup. 5:30 should be, good enough time for everything to work. But, I guess that's only true if everything is working. So I'm trying to find the perfect time. Anyway, welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle, session 18, which is winding down now. And uh, the Global Black Feminist why do I keep wanting to say that? Reading Circle actually has 3 homes online. One is our blog, readingchangeslives.wordpress.com. We have a Facebook page by that Global Black Feminist name. And we have a YouTube channel. So, anyway, we are currently reading The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Spacetime, and Dreams Deferred by Chanda Prescod-Weinstein. And it has been an interesting journey. So I'm Michelle Odom. I am, stop the share. I'm located in Brooklyn, New York.
And I'm
Venita.
Venita Walker. I'm located in Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
And I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina. Yay.
All right. Well, let's start reading our story together. Let's see. Let me pull up. Give me a minute. Open up, close some of these documents, I think. The agenda. Okay. Close the invitation. Okay. Is it working? So
Yeah.
anyway, it's not sharing the screen.
No, it's not. It's just
Okay. Now it's working. Yeah. Can you see it yet?
yeah, there it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's our beautiful faces at the top. I was inspired to do that this week. Of course, we had the Independence Day holiday, so I had, we had a week off. So you know what happens to me when I have too much time on my hands. But it was good. It gave me a chance to get a little bit ahead of the game. Um, so now I have to get my head back into tonight's discussion, chapter 11. Rape is part of this scientific story. And then we come back next week, July 18th, and start phase 4, which is, of course, the last section of the book. So, I can read, or you feel like reading, anybody?
We'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, you do a good job. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.
Okay, if I can see. Uh, keep on living, which is a quote from my mother, Loga B. Keep on living, Chanda. And Chanda starts this chapter with a content warning that says this chapter covers difficult topics, including sexual assault. So I guess for anyone who, may be planning to watch this video, that's something you should know. And I guess, that we are all here tonight. We are saying that we can handle this discussion. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
All right. A PTSD flare-up related to a rape the author endured in grad school leads to the reflections in chapter 11. Rape is a part of this scientific story of the disordered cosmos, a journey into dark matter, space-time, and dreams deferred. Chanda Prescod-Weinstein considers how both rape and science are manifestations of power in search of control, how patriarchy and violence damage our ability to relate to ourselves, each other, and the world, how racism skews our responses when a Black man is accused of rape, how white supremacy influences our reactions when a mediocre white man is the accused, and how our criminal justice system fails women over and over again. Her reflections also include the ways in which rape has become a part of her story as a scientist, curiosity about male behavior and what's possibly going on in the twisted minds of men who rape, how fear and misogyny give her pause in questioning whether to reveal the name of her rapist, and how memories of the rape invade her current thoughts some 15 years after the trauma. Some of the ways in which she struggles to cope with PTSD include reading, writing, circulating articles, listening to music, leaning on her husband, and releasing tears, sometimes even among colleagues. I sense that she also grapples with feelings of hatred and vengeance, as well as the ways in which trauma has informed her creativity. Though thus far in her scientific story, the author is unwilling to reveal the name of the Black male scientist who raped her, she does call out certain well-known figures whom women have publicly accused of rape, including Neil deGrasse Tyson, Kobe Bryant, and Brett Kavanaugh. The reactions to those accusations, where the voices of women were not given credence, seem to create a sort of chilling effect for the author, where she is convinced her own testimony would be disbelieved, with disastrous consequences for her career. The well-known men she chose to name, of course, represent only a smattering of the celebrities, sports stars, scholars, businessmen, and U.S. Supreme Court justices she could have named. There, the story is mixed, with people like Clarence Thomas, for example, managing to slither through his nomination process, despite Anita Hill's testimony, but others like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein having to face the long arm of the law. To be sure, there is a risk of disbelief, but there is also a chance a woman's testimony will be validated. Each woman is left with the power and responsibility to assess for herself whether the potential risk outweigh the possible rewards, at least until the men who rape women have judicially stripped us of this right as well. Stuffing down suicidal thoughts and feelings of failure, the author ends on a hopeful note. I can only conclude, quote, I can only conclude that I still want a chance to be not just a rape victim, but a rape victim who chooses life, unquote, wrote Chanda Prescod-Weinstein. Quite clearly, we see that the now tenured professor is now and always has been much more than a rape victim. Our hope and prayer is that she will one day see this too. Chanda Prescod-Weinstein is a survivor, and it is important that we incorporate this language into our identity when we have experienced one of life's traumas. Trauma often leaves us with valuable life lessons, and as we begin to see what we have learned, no matter how painfully, we can begin to appreciate the tools, skills, strategies, and wisdom with which we are now equipped for the journey ahead. With the words of my mother, Loga Isis Butler Odom, I close by saying, keep on living. So, I don't know how many questions there are, Venita. I guess there are a lot.
I'm sure. As
But
always.
I think I tried to highlight, yes, in blue, the ones I wanted to start with. Um, uh, who feels like reading?
Georgette.
Okay then. Okay, Michelle, point me at it. Where's it at?
There it is.
Okay, question number 4. The author was raped in her second term of graduate school by a scientist and came to realize while rape changed my life, it didn't change me in some fundamental way. Writing this book pushed her to consider the question, how is rape part of my scientific story? In the rest of the chapter, she explores this question. Her answers include having to see the rapist, his name, and his work as she does her own work, hearing how he gathers intel on her, recalling what he said about her sexiness during the vicious attack, and having memories of the rape invading her thoughts as she is trying to think about science. She sees the way in which telling someone they are sexy is a power move, where you tell someone whether they are sexually valid or not. A. Back in the day, men used to scream out their reactions to a woman's appearance as she was walking down the street. It was called catcalling, and according to one source, catcalling is usually defined as a rude, derogatory, or unwelcome comment, whistle, kissing sound, or maybe even a literal meow. But it's more than these passing jeers. Catcalling, also known as street harassment, limits folks' access to public space and often has a serious impact. Such behavior in the workplace may even be found to be a cause for a complaint of illegal sexual harassment. Have you ever been the target of catcalling? And if so, how did it make you feel? And how did you respond to it, if at all? And question B, have you ever considered the power dynamics at play when someone tells you how they feel about your looks? If so, what feelings did it evoke in you?
Right. Thank you. Anybody?
Well, whomever was a teenager in the 70s, and most of us were, catcalling was something that was so common. It never really affected me, to be honest with you. I'm a fast walker, you know, so you just really, when I was younger, just ignored it. And it's really sad that this came so matter of factly. I just didn't respond. It's like I didn't even hear him, kept on moving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't, I don't know if at that point in my life, I had the language to use the word insulting or degrading or any of those things. It was just unnecessary words that I didn't need to hear. So I just didn't acknowledge them. I kept walking. Today, I might feel different. But then, it's like,
Yeah.
I just didn't have the words to fit it. And I didn't really think about it. Because I don't think many people did, really, women. They just, some responded, but most just ignored it and kept on moving, that I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember reading something about different ways, that some women do respond. And of course, there's the risk that that's going to turn into, an argument on the street or, whatever, if you decide to respond. So I agree, to keep it moving is but yeah, it's been so long, I know what you're talking about in the 70s, but it's been so long since I've even heard anybody catcall at me or anybody else. I wonder if it still goes on.
Well, I think it's probably at a minimum now, because employers, number one, if you want a job, because we have so many laws in place and a person can actually sue you for any reason or no reason anyway, I know at my husband's employer, which is a big corporation, every other week they're having a meeting, introducing new pronouns, how you should look at a woman, and really how long a glance should be when you're talking to them about business, which my husband has feelings about that, because he's not one of those men that are looking at you undressing you. Business is business. He's not in the, doesn't usually compliment women because of all these things, but he's just not that type anyway. But even if he did want to, say you look very lovely today, men are just very hesitant.
Yeah.
They're very hesitant to say anything. And then because there's so many men that say and do things that are undesirable. So men that have harmless compliments end up saying nothing.
Yeah.
They don't look at you. But he actually does. I mean, there actually was a meeting recently, and there are always meetings constantly, but recently about how long you should glance at a woman when you're talking to them in a business setting.
Yeah.
And he, of course, has to, this is how society has gotten, but it wears on some of the men that I know that are very wonderful men that would never ever think of doing anything to disrespect a woman. So now they have to literally walk around and keep their head down to avoid giving eye contact. It's a certain amount of seconds. I mean, right down to the seconds. They've gotten together, with sexual harassment attorneys. They've had a whole curriculum that is constant.
Yeah,
all the
it's a
political
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Gender relations are very different than they were when we were young.
Yeah, it's very different. They need it though. This is why you don't hear a lot of it anymore. Of course, there's always going to be a yin and yang to everything, no matter what it is. But they need it. He's not saying they don't need it. Yes, he feels they do need to make sure these men stay in check. This is a place of business. You don't know her like that. You know what I'm saying? But meanwhile, it gets uncomfortable for those men that don't do that, would never think of doing that. So they can't really look at you and say, you look lovely today, which I think a nice, genuine compliment is nice. But that same woman could say, what do you mean I'm lovely today? I look lovely today. He's going to compliment you because you're dressed very nicely today. Maybe it was a special occasion. So you can't say anything. So, but he still thinks you need that. He's still not arguing that fact. He's like, oh no. No, you still need to continuously put in their face that this is what you don't do. So we don't hear catcalling.
Like one extreme or the other.
Oh, with everything. It's never a middle ground, and that's okay. But that's why you don't hear catcalling on construction sites.
Yeah.
Because you got that manager out there.
Let's hear what Gio's experience is.
Well, growing up, that was the kind of thing you just expected it when you moved in certain spaces, right? If you had to walk publicly down the street, around the corner to the store, you're on a bus, you're on a train, it was pretty much acceptable. And you were supposed to, consider it as a compliment. Oh, you look nice. You're desirable to the person. So I just moved fast, like Venita said, and I would, do one of these. Okay, yeah, but no, hey, sister, you get a minute? Yeah, you're beautiful, lovely, whatever, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I gotta go work, hey, and just you acknowledge them because I think that's what they want, right? That's what I thought. That's what they want. They're trying to give you a compliment, but no, I don't have any time because you still. If I did have any time, I wouldn't wait with you because you're on the corner. Okay?
And that's what I'm saying. And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? You on the corner. Number one.
Okay, because all you can give me is lip service, a compliment, because you can't obviously
Right.
Your
I don't want to.
situation is not at a level that I might need to pause, okay, and
Right.
consider.
See, thank you, Georgette. I didn't want to say that, but
Oh
thank you.
my
I'm glad.
God.
This
Those
is
are,
it.
those are just the facts. So, and I was thinking about this question. I'm like, okay, those are the things that happened while I was growing up, and was aware of it and observed how female members or that I knew in my family or, just friends and whomever, how they handled, these situations and how they were able to be diplomatic. And I just I mimicked their actions because they had a positive result, right? They didn't have somebody call them a B and throwing stuff at them because
Yeah.
they wouldn't stop.
Right.
Oh, you think you're too cute. Oh, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh, you stink, stuff like that, So I wonder what because the environments are probably different now and the mindset is different. What young women and, just women in general whatever gender now, because we have to accept that things have changed, what they're experiencing in these different environments. Are they being, like, oh, you're weird, somebody's yelling at them, oh, I like the way you walk. And then they turn around and say, oh, well, whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, your wig is crusty or something. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're saying and how they handle it. Or accepting the fact that there's a lot of gender violence, right? That is not being mitigated. In fact, it's pretty, I think it's increasing. How do you handle yourself in these situations, being able to feel safe, right, and confident moving through spaces and interacting with people who could potentially be, assault you. I don't know what the mindset of people these days moving in these public spaces is like. And switching that to an environment of your workplace. Wow, yeah, restrictions, man. Because we moved from, I think, environments where male dominated and women subservient, and it was just quite natural. Well, hey, she's my secretary, we're gonna have some extra with the coffee today. That kind of mindset. And then transitioning to, we have more women in the workplace, and now transgender in the workplace, and or just people in general of whoever, however they wish to be identified, and how you're going to react with people with respect, and dignity, respecting the space, that they would like to have, their personal space. Don't talk to me a particular way, or I will be offended. How do you mitigate that in the workplace so it's fair, and even, without making the guys feel oppressed? Oh, it's always us. It's always us. And I'm sure they probably feel like they're the victim also, because it's always directed at what they're doing wrong. A hard place to be in. I know the military, my experience with the military and working in civil service environments, it's codified. So there it's written down, okay, you can do this, you can't say that, blah, blah, this, and this is what's going to happen to you if you cross these lines and someone reports you. But the person who reports has to be validated. And of course, and there's supposed to be an investigation, right? So the burden of proof is on both parties. Okay, prove you didn't. Another one, prove you did. Okay. And I just don't. I see working in this day and time is probably pretty problematic, very stressful, for the reasons, Venita, that you mentioned. Your husband, right? He's a respectful kind of guy, right? That's how he was brought up, to respect other people. And I'm hoping a lot of other men and women were brought up the same way. And companies, after having been sued,
That's what it's about. It's
right,
about the
do that
money.
knee jerk, right? Oh, you can't look 5.5 seconds. Somebody's in the corner timing. Robert, you're reckless eyeballing again.
That's it.
I'm like, this is, how do you resolve these kind of issues that are really common decency and respecting other human beings, right? You're in the workplace, this is the environment. We don't do that stuff. If you want to take it, after work at the bar or the club or wherever you're going, then it stays there. Okay. But not once you walk through these doors. Everyone is an employee, a supervisor, and they deserve the respect of their position.
Yeah.
So, man. But I wanted to
go ahead.
I wanted to add, because there was a lot of controversy about the essence thing. Had you heard?
No, I haven't heard this one. What's going on?
Oh, what's the girl, Megan Thee Stallion, inviting women on the stage to twerk, and Janelle Monáe was posing her areola, at the Essence Festival.
Oh.
So this generational gap, I suppose, because I'm kind of torn. But if these activities that women are engaging in are encouraging guys to think about them a particular way, I don't know how you resolve that issue, right? Accepting someone's freedom to express themselves with the consequences of a particular mindset happening,
Right.
So, yeah.
It's hard, I mean, women, Venita always likes to talk about how I used to love to rock a halter.
That was the fashion back in the day.
But I mean, at one point it was women seemed to feel like, they could essentially walk down the street naked and nobody's supposed to touch you. I mean, theoretically, yeah, that, I can agree that that's what should happen, but realistically, yeah, you also have a certain duty to I believe, to try to keep yourself safe when as you talked about, Gio, so much goes to how you're raised, but we're not all raised the same. We don't end up as young adults with the same set of values and, whatnot. And so, so I don't know. I'm being equivocal, but I think, there has to be some kind of mutual responsibility.
I like that term, mutual responsibility.
But I wanted to say a word about the second part of the question, the power dynamics. Because what did he say to her? I think you're cute, or
yeah,
you
he was surprised
body,
her body was cute. I'm like, well, what in the world, dude? Well, what do you expect?
But I remember a man said to me, he said, he just looked at me one day. He said, I think you're cute, not pretty. So the first time he said it, I didn't think, well, me, a million thoughts went through my mind, but I didn't worry about it, because that might be how I might describe myself. I don't, look like a Vogue model or whatever. But then some time went by and he said it again, out of the blue. I think you're cute, not pretty. So now I'm feeling some kind of way.
What did he expect you to? What kind of response was he looking for? That's the question.
Right. And I think it may have been the third time. It might have been the second time, but I think it might have been the third time that he said it, that I finally said to him, you know, I don't know where you think you're going with this. I don't have a problem being described as cute, but the fact that you feel the need to say it over and over again makes me feel like, you know, I don't know, you're trying to, you know, are you saying that I should care about, you know, what you think I look like? Are you saying I should be trying to do something different to earn that pretty designation from you? I mean, where you going with this? That actually turned into a pretty big argument. And
well, Michelle, what did he say in his defense?
I don't even remember what he said in his defense, because by that point there was nothing, you know, there was nothing that he could say that I was going to listen to.
Except I'm sorry. Can I ever say it, right?
Well, I think that was the point at which he concluded that I was more effort than he had the capacity to handle. But you know, I'm just saying that people do sometimes say these little, I call it head fucking, you know, say these little things to you to try to get inside your head and fuck with your self-esteem. And, you know, and if you're not kind of on guard and paying attention to that kind of thing, you know, they can have you feeling some kind of way about yourself without really knowing where that's coming from, you know. So I like that Chanda was picking up on, you know, why the fuck did he say that?
Well, I didn't see it that way. You're apparently dealing with a lunatic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that may come out his face, it might just went right here with me, because you're dealing with the lunatic anyway.
Yeah.
So there's something to say anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know if I would have thought anything of him, of what he said, other than you're a lunatic to the 10th degree. You know, because you could expect them to say anything. I don't know if I'd have read into anything. I just thought I would have probably got even more scared, because this fool is a real fool in my head. You know, you're doing, what you're doing to me, and you're talking about, okay, now I'm scared. Now I'm gonna have to cut him, or find something to cut him, or something. I mean, but when you find that frightening, I mean, I would be even more frightening. It's almost like a Steven Spielberg type of, no, not him.
Stephen King?
Stephen King, yes. Type of lunatic stuff. And that would just make me more frightened. You know, I wouldn't have took it no kind of way other than I know I'm really dealing with him. You know, either I'm going to find a way to bolt, or something's going to happen.
Right.
But the employers also too, and I feel this way, and I probably slam for it. It's not about the women or respecting women. It's about respecting their pocket. Because again, everything is about the dollar. This is why, you know, so and that's what's sad about it. It's just, I believe it has nothing to do with the woman. You know, you make sure you don't look at her for over 3 seconds. Because she may construe it as harassment, and then here we go with a lawsuit. You see, corporations don't have a mind or a heart. You have to bear that in mind. It's a ledger. Everything's a ledger. You know, OSHA. OSHA keeps everything in order, safety-wise, at any company, whether it's white-collar company, whether it's blue-collar company. They're there. Why? Not necessarily because, you know, a person may get hurt. That's a small part of it, of course. But the big part of it is, if you don't happen to die, which is economically better on them, and you happen to be disabled for the rest of your life, that's a problem.
Mhm.
Financial, our laws are not set up, whether in corporations or otherwise, for the humans. They're set up for capitalism, for that pocket. That's why we have
Right.
corporations, because they don't have a mind or a heart. Remember that, ledger.
Right.
That's why we separate the two. So we have to think about what's actually happening. We only think about how this is going to affect the company.
All right. Well, it's 6:44, so that means we have been almost 45 minutes
What?
on one question.
No,
Right?
we haven't. The opening was
This is a
about
heavy
25
topic.
minutes.
Well, no, we started a couple minutes late and the opening took some time. But what I'm saying is let's try to give ourselves a little bit of a time limit when we're responding, so we can get through more than one question.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, let me try to share the screen again. Agenda. Share. Power and control. Okay, I'm on number 7. Chanda assures her rapist she will not utter his name publicly, while also sharing her concerns that some would not believe her, even if she did. The conversation around rape, quote, the conversation around rape always seems to get hung up on one thing. He said, she said. I don't share the identity of my rapist, partly because I am not invested in being punitive, but mostly I am not interested in the punitive measures that would be taken against me. I would be disbelieved and remembered more for this one thing than for my myriad other contributions. Rape victims don't get to be remembered well, but rather get to be remembered as liars, bitches, and sluts who are now just ashamed that they were sluts. Statistics showing most women do not lie about being raped be damned. In a patriarchal and misogynistic world, doubt reigns. Okay, question A. Do you suspect Chanda Prescod-Weinstein may one day actually publicly reveal the name of her rapist? Why not? Do you think she is correct that she will not be believed by those who matter to her? Do you think it matters to her mental health how she decides to handle the matter of public revelation? D, it could no doubt mean career suicide if she chooses to reveal the name of the scientist who abused her. If you were in her position, what might you do with the question of whether or not to reveal the truth? E, on Law and Order SVU, the officers always counsel women that to leave a rapist his privacy is to create the space for him to rape again. Do you see it as the responsibility of the victim to help minimize the chance the predator will live to rape again? Do you think it is worse to be raped by someone you know or by a total stranger? So that's a lot. I guess essentially it's about to reveal or not to reveal. The name of the predator. I mean, I think it really is each woman's decision. I mean, rape, sexual assault, all of it is such a violation. It's such a, it already leaves you feeling so powerless that, I don't think anybody should be pressuring a woman to do anything else than, what it is she feels she wants to do. Because there are always consequences. So, I think, but I do think the day may come when she may reveal. So now she has tenure, so she's more secure in her career. But she may even wait, until she gets closer to the end of her career, where she really won't have so much to lose, and decide to put him on full blast. I do think when you're able to do that, though, it is good for your mental health, but staying alive takes a lot. Our mental health is only one thing we have to be concerned about. So, yeah. She's obviously, she's not ready to do it right now, but I think one day she might.
Yeah. Reading this chapter, she was really laid bare a lot of pain, right? Every she can, like, every other thought is about the violation. And mention of his name, and then to find out that the creep is, on the down low checking up on what she's doing. So he is just really somebody that needs a comeuppance. Okay. And then this is a real insight into the scientific community and other cliquish communities where there's a defined hierarchy, by gender, by race, even, maybe by belief system. And when you are one of the few and you're already standing on shifting sands because of your gender, you are automatically disbelieved, or as in what Robert Boyle, well, you can't believe a woman's observations because her hormones are disturbing how she sees reality. Okay, whatever. Right. Already you're working from behind the 8 ball. So I guess when she is like maybe 75 and she don't give a damn, that was that motherfucker.
Right.
If I saw the day, I would rip his penis off. But wow, just so, it was this, man, it's just so discouraging and disappointing, especially. And I had forgot about Neil deGrasse Tyson. I forgot about that little blurb because it was like, blip. Yeah,
I didn't even know, Gio. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
I spent 15 minutes looking through, okay, these articles and what do these women look like? What did they say? What were the circumstances? And then I wanted to, because people don't become these things in a vacuum, right? The activities. I'm no psychologist, but this is my belief. And so I wanted to look at his mother and see what kind of, how does she carrying herself? And then I listened to his sister talk. I'm like, these are some very intelligent people. But that doesn't discount the fact that you can have someone who is intellectually astronomical and also predatory. Right. There's also something damaged someplace within them that they either have taken on the habits of the environment in which they move, meaning patriarchal, women, they want it because I'm hot stuff kind of thing. Or that's just really who you are inside and you're good at hiding it.
Right.
you know.
Right.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I was very disappointed to hear that one, because I had not heard it. And I'm having a hard time looking at him as a scientist now.
No, I
So when
know.
you were looking at the women that you looked at some of the women that made accusations,
Right, the two
what?
what are the astrophysics, well, they're scientists, and the one lady who dropped out and appears she was on
Yeah.
track to become the first black female astronaut. And I'm like, well, damn,
Yeah.
okay, that's really. And then I looked at his Facebook post about, his answer to the accusations, and I'm like, okay, this is standard.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to say? Yeah, I did it because they were hot.
Right. Right.
That would be more honest, right? Because I
Right.
was,
Right.
why here we are with these two dichotomies. Why should a woman have to like dress up like, you know, oh, Grandma Moses to feel
Mm-hmm.
safe in an environment where there are
Mm-hmm.
some predatory people operating? And let's be clear, they can be men, women, and other, because we've
Yeah.
seen these things happen. It
Mm-hmm.
just just very sad. And then it feels like the burden is on the public to decide whether or not they're going to believe the victim or believe the person who's been accused of these things.
Right. Right. Well, there's a hashtag, believe women, and I mean, I think that we always want a court of law to look at the evidence, you know, and come to the best conclusion possible, because nobody other than the two people in that room, really know what happened. Unless there's, some physical evidence that, video cam, whatever, but let the court system look for all the evidence. But in the court of public opinion, where the tendency has been to not believe women, then, I can support going to the opposite extreme for a while and just saying, believe women. I mean, the fact is, you don't know. So why don't you just start with believing her? And when you see some evidence that proves she was lying, okay, but start with believing her. And that would be a major cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
Venita, what's on your mind?
I think one of the mistakes that people make is putting too much weight on intellect. I know a couple of people that, people, because they're well educated, and they have charm, and they're not what they appear to be. And I think too many times people also let their guards down around those type of people, men, which gives them an opportunity sometimes other men would never even have to get that close.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing is I can understand it's up to a woman if she wants to report a rape or no. But whether it's publicly or whether it's in a public forum, whether it's career or whether it's in a family, the other side of that, as with the Me Too movement in Hollywood, is there are a lot of the victims because that person is not called out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you ask me what I would do, because it's up to that person what they would do, I would be thinking about if I do not say anything, no matter what's at stake, This is why many times these things happen to young women and young little girls over and over again, whether it's in a family or whether it's in a corporation. I might have to take my chances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the Me Too movement was in front of all the other newsworthy things that were going on, I saw women there. This happened 15 years ago on the director's couch. Well, there's a lot of other little young women that are coming along that are naive, that are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 years old. They don't necessarily know about what happens on the director's couch or what possibly, and it's pretty rampant.
Mm-hmm.
What about them? Again, it's up to that individual person. But if it were me,
Mm-hmm.
I would have to let the world know. I would have to face the consequences, but that's a personal decision. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be thinking about myself personally, how it's going to affect my career, how it's going to affect this and that, because I already know in my mind that it's going to. But I would think about the other victims that did not have to be victims per se, at least by that person.
Right.
If I said something about it. So it's up to the individual. But I, you know, for me personally, and if I hear later on this man has victimized other girls or young women, and I didn't say anything, I don't know if I can live with myself. So it's a heavy decision, but that's the one I would make.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happened. That
It
happened
is
in
a
Hollywood.
heavy decision, complex.
It's a heavy decision to make.
And, you know, if my impression is that
Very heavy.
Chanda was able to get good support from her family because the rapist was outside her family. But when the rapist is in your family, you know, then that creates a different set of complications and issues.
Most definitely.
To consider, you know. So you know, everybody's got to look at the facts of their case and, you know, the consequences, and, you know, whether or not you can handle, you know, what may come your way, because you know, there's a pretty consistent you know, a few responses. I mean, you know, there's loads of reading to be done on this topic, and a few consistent ways that people respond, either positively or negatively. So, you know, I just think that if you're trying to figure out what to do for yourself, you know, I always think reading is a good idea, because you're far from the first person to go through, you know, whatever it is. Yeah.
Again, I put no emphasis on right or wrong. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I'm not that person. I don't have their emotions. I don't have their feelings. You know, no, I don't. And that's why people make different decisions.
Women and girls have been facing down, you know, predators for a long time.
Still are.
And still are. And, you know, it used to be more, I think it used to be more a thing that happened to younger people. But, you know, now you hear stories about 75-year-old woman being raped. Ain't nobody safe. There's some crazy folk out here. Some crazy folk out here. Yeah.
We live in a mentally unstable world. I mean, mental illness has already been there, you know, and with all the stimuli on top of that, and there are a host of stimuli, then what else could you expect?
Right.
This is nothing to be expected. And it has nothing to do with morals and values. That's another thing people put a whole lot of heavy stuff on. You know, There's folks who go out there and do commit all kinds of hideous crimes that say they have morals and values. They go home every evening, shut that BMW door, show up at the church every Sunday, do the community service, and they out there killing people, women every other week for a hobby. And they still think they had morals and values. So I guess it depends on how you define it. I don't know. It's just scary. It's all just scary. We live in a scary world. It's scary. Very scary. But I do like what I do like that she did. You know he's trolling you. When you have done what you have done, and I'm sure he's established this wonderful life, wonderful lifestyle. Again, going down to the church on Sunday, you know what I'm saying? Doing the family thing and all the other stuff to go along with it. Plus, on top of his, with his professional status, you got to be scared as hell. So you want to know what that person is saying and doing at all times. And I think it was good in the book, that she didn't give his name. Because I like to see somebody score. Yeah, you trolling me, go right on, because here you go. I'm not going to call your name right now. I'm going to let you sit back and think about it. Okay? So, but that's that vindictive, ugly side of me. And I got some ugly. I'm imperfect, never said I was. And that in that instance, in very few instances, I'm vindictive or about to do some shady stuff. But I just went.
That might be what she's doing, because she all but called this name.
Oh, but called the name.
6 foot tall. Works in the Hanson Science Building. No, she didn't do all that.
Oh
but
I'm just saying, if that person is trolling her, and they are, why wouldn't you? You got a secret. Yeah. You got a huge secret. It can cost you not only your career, but some jail time. It's called a felony if you're proven guilty. Okay? So yeah, he's squirming. He's looking at, he wants to know everything, everywhere she is, what she's saying, what she's doing. Yes. Because at some point, but that's what I thought was really smooth about it. I said, that was pretty smooth. Okay, let him have some sleepless nights and sleep. And every time he turn around, worrying about what the next thing you're going to say, because you said a lot in that chapter. If I was him, I don't know how well I sleep at night.
That's an interesting take on it. I didn't think of it that way. I looked at it as, because he's that kind of a creep, he just likes to keep track of his conquests. And so, but maybe because I forgot about the Me Too movement, maybe because of that, if this happened, around the same time, he would be worried about whether she would out him, and then all the rest of his conquests would, they come
out the wall.
Right?
So, he's having some sleepless nights. He's having some sleepless nights. And it's not the last one, because I hope she writes more books, because this one's very good. So the next book, if I was him, I'm just saying, I wouldn't be.
He had a mole on his left hip.
Oh,
I know who that is. No,
he teaches intro to astronomy. On Tuesdays at 3.
Yeah, and stops by the same coffee shop every evening, the same time, on the way to the next. So by the time she gets done, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But maybe you're just not as shady as I can be. I'm not a shady person per se, but I got some crazy me too. So that's I'm thinking the other way. Georgette thinking about. I'm like, girl, no. But that's called it's mental warfare. It's mental warfare.
Something you said to me about that, Venita, the other day, that makes sense, is when this happened to her, she was young,
Yes.
And she's talking about it now, 15 years later. and she's questioning, you know, different aspects of it. But it takes time, right? That's what you were saying, that it takes time for
it
us
definitely
to
takes
develop
time.
and mature and,
Yes,
you
to
know,
question these things.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're young,
Right.
things are not, you know, even though that it's just horrible. I can't even talk about it, how horrible it is. It happened. But you still got that young energy. You still not mature enough to put all those thoughts together, but you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And as you mature, just from maturing alone, you don't have that wind like you used to be to put things back here and keep on moving. You sit down for me like, and by the way,
what was that?
What was that? It's just like somebody saying something or doing something to you, and then you don't have an afterthought a year later. You're like, you know what? I didn't like what you said in 1965.
Yeah.
No. So I think that plays a big role in why she's saying it now. It's just the maturity. She was very young. That's where she was. And I would probably have been where she was, and you would have been where she was. The people would have been where she was at that time. You still got that energy. You still have that energy to fight against things and put back here and over here and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Which I think that's a way of protecting ourselves when we're young, is to be able to put things back here and over there and still keep it moving. So I think that's what she did. But I'm kind of shady. I still like the way she did that. That was good. That's called mental warfare. Okay? Mental warfare. I'm going to give you something to think about. Okay?
But,
so
you know, but these questions, I mean, they do stay with you for a long time. It really takes decades to process in your own mind what the hell happened, you know. And so 15 years, you know, it sounds, you know, I guess it may sound like a long time to some people, but it's really not, you know. Traumas like that stay with us, you know. All kinds of traumas stay with us, and we process and process, you know. So she's, you know, to me, she's on the long road to recovery, you know, and that's why I say keep on living, because she'll get there, you know, she'll get there. But right now it's fucking with her, you know.
Well, and your brain that's where your brain is designed to protect you. How many times have people went through traumatic experiences and something triggers them 30 years later? They had no memory before. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, this is what really happened. And so your brain is going to protect you until it feels though it can ease up slowly and not protect you anymore, because you got this. That's what your brain is saying. The timing is right. At this point, I think you got this. But before then, your brain's going to protect you because you don't have it. If you just follow your body, you ain't got it.
Right.
That's why it's protecting you.
Yeah.
So her brain is telling her, okay, you can breathe now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it has anything to do with per se tenure. I think it has to do with the brain saying, okay.
Yes.
It's cool now. Everything is cool. I think you got this.
You're
I think
strong
you can handle
enough.
it.
You're strong enough.
Well, that's right. And I don't need to protect you as much as I needed to protect you before. So it's even beyond her control, or beyond people's control, I believe, in a lot of instances. And, you know, there's facts to back that up, because people are traumatized, and 20 years later, finally all this stuff comes out. And their memory comes to them. It was there. It was just pushed back in the back because it wasn't the time. It was just too dangerous. You know, that's why you can't force people to talk about things that they are not ready to talk about. You can really traumatize a person again, and or do something really terrible to them if you force a person to talk about something they're not ready to talk about. That I know for sure. And there's scientific facts to back that up.
Well, I'm ready to talk about another question. Do you guys have a question you want to bring up? Did you?
No, we'll just go with you. We'll go with what you have highlighted.
You know, you guys. Okay, well, Georgette already mentioned that nasty ass Robert Boyle. Oh, how'd you like in the agenda how I gave a little description to the people? Robert Boyle, misogynist.
And I read that. I'm like, she's doing so much extra. Yeah, too much time on
For
hand.
sure. You need to do a TikTok. You need to do a little video, those little shorts on YouTube. This day in history, that misogynist, Robert Boyle.
Yes.
That would have been so funny.
Yeah, I read
Because
that.
we could never seem to mention. Well, let me mention mother tongue monologues. Number 12. So far, criminal justice is the only way we as a human community have decided collectively confront the act of rape. And so my question is, what are some other ways we might collectively confront rape and rape culture? And I refer you to mother tongue monologues. So, I wish Karen was here. She could probably give us chapter and verse, but certainly there are African cultures that have practiced more communal approaches to criminal justice or dealing with someone that has done something that offends the community standards. So, the kind of criminal justice that we have here in the US is really just one approach, and not necessarily the best approach. So one thing I was involved with back in 2013 and 2014 was called Mother Tongue Monologues, that was sponsored by Black Women's Blueprint. And so that agency has really devoted a lot of energy to trying to help women heal from various types of sexual assault. And so the mother tongue monologues itself, it's a spin on Eve Ensler's vagina monologues. But each year there's a theme, where people of that community can, come together in this public event and basically share their stories. So I know one year they focused on queer experiences. The year I was involved with it, they were focusing on sexual traumas. And then beyond the mother tongue monologues, the CEO of the organization, Farah Tanis, started something called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And so the idea behind that, was to have a commission hear the live testimony of women that have been sexually abused. And it seems like there was some connection to that with the United Nations. So, I just say it to say that I think that there are possibly other creative approaches to dealing with these traumas than just the criminal justice system, because the criminal justice system itself is subject to lay more trauma on you than the damn rapist, So the issue is, how to find communities where actual healing can commence and proceed, and that kind of thing. And so one of the things that Farah made the participants in mother tongue monologues do was we had to spend about 5 months in group counseling, getting ready for this event. And it actually was very helpful. The agency also provides a lot of one-on-one counseling for women like that. So that's one organization in New York. I'm sure there are other comparable things going on in other parts of the country. So, you just kind of have to reach out and see what's out there. So, mother tongue, let me see. Where's my thing? Share screen, agenda. Oh yeah, let's talk religion. Gio, would you read number 13, please?
Okay. Lacey M. Johnson wrote in The Reckonings, I want him to spend the rest of his life in service to other people's joy. I want that too, wrote Prescod-Weinstein, but I don't have any hope for it. To be a rape victim who publicly accuses her perpetrator is to become unimaginably heavy, like nuclear explosions inside the sun, converting hydrogen to helium. One day, the sun will run out of hydrogen, unable to sustain these explosions, and it will die. The explosions look beautiful from the outside, but inside, a life-sustaining planet will be dying. Question A. For religious folk, Romans 12:19 reads, Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Thus, followers are taught to leave the dirty work to God and to occupy ourselves with more manageable tasks, to be satisfied with the possibility we will never see justice in our own lifetimes. Let's spend a few brief but terrifying moments pondering the impact of hate. Does hate always destroy the hater? And question B, how can we know we are being eaten alive by the hate we carry in our hearts? Question C, do you agree with the idea that it is best to leave vengeance to the Lord, or is it better for our mental health to seek destruction, justice, or reparations while we remain among the living? As always, why or why not? Question D, if it is not an individual's responsibility to seek justice for an abuser, rapist, colonizer, enslaver, etc., is there a role for the collective to play? And if so, what might that look like? In other words, might it be society's job to manifest God's will? Question E. The author opens this chapter with a trigger warning. Clearly, she recognizes some people are unwilling and or unable to hear of the atrocities she experienced. Is offering a listening ear enough to quell the desire for vengeance, in your opinion? And question F. We used to talk a good game about wanting unity in the community. How does the act of rape interrupt our capacity to forge unity?
Thank you. Vengeance is mine.
Yeah. Who wrote it? No. Who wrote that? Now, what's that?
Well,
Okay, I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
Venita has already told us she has a bit of a mean streak.
Well, I'm just trying to be honest. It's a yin and a yang,
Okay.
to all of us. And when she threw the guy,
and Gio said he needs some comeuppance.
Look, I grew up in the era of Charles Bronson and that big whatever he had, 45. Okay. on the subways, taking people out. So
when Michelle knows she lost when she threw the God thing in those questions. We have those conversations. We have those conversations all the time about. We've had many conversations about that. God gave me a wonderful body. He gave me a wonderful brain. Everything I have, he gave me. So depending on the situation, he can't be there all the time for everything, especially in 2023. We have so much stuff going on. Therefore, he has ordained me among thousands of other people to do what we think is right sometimes. To take a little burden off them. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot going on, Georgette.
It is.
And our court system, our legal system does not work for us. We already knew that. We know that. It should. And I shouldn't even say it should for us. It never has. So sometimes, we have to just, help the Lord out a little bit. Along with having organizations and safe places for people to talk and have other people there for them. But sometimes it takes a little more, Georgette. You should know that. Gunflinger Lily over there.
Pew pew. No, that's
well, that's why I put colonizer, enslaver, etc. into that question, because there are a lot of ways to abuse and violate people. A lot of ways. But what we don't see is a whole lot of justice, especially where Black Americans are or Black people are concerned. And I mean, how much religion has, been a part of our thinking for so long. But, I do think there are some questions to ask about whether or not God needs some helpers on earth. Because
I get messages all the time from God.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm able to be a good person and do good things for others.
What does God tell you about this?
God told me that this is beyond him. He can't do it all.
Yes.
So it's just a lot going on. And sadly, we have no protection. There are those who do have protection. We're just not those folks.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
We're just not those folks. So therefore, what are we going to do? Sit back, as so many of us do. There's nothing wrong with prayer. If that's what you're into, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But along with prayer, you need some action.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully organized action.
Mm-hmm.
If at all possible, organized action. Because prayer can't do it all. It just can't.
Yeah.
We've done that. We put everything in the Lord's hand. All the time. Mm-hmm. And this is where we're landing. Sometimes you gotta get the Lord a little help. If you want to pray, ask him to keep your body strong, keep your mind strong. Give you, the so you can be able to think and do the things and physically do the things you need to do. But how much do you want the Lord to do?
Yeah. But I also want to get at that piece that Chanda is really raising, in the chapter about our relationships with each other, you know, and that's why I put the question in about, remember Venita, how there was this cry for unity in the community, you know, it
Yes.
went on for what, about a decade or so. You know, but there are a lot of things that cut into unity, the capacity for unity, like rape, you know. We've got to really be able to figure out how we treat each other before we can get to anything else, you know. The bands of you know, protectors or avengers or whatever. We got to figure out how to treat each other decently, you know, and that does not include rape.
Well, that's going to be a long process. Very, 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 very long process. Because remember, it takes a lot. It's very easy to undo things. It's like tying your shoe. It takes longer to tie it than to untie. You untie, you pull one string, and it's untied. In the process, we still have to do other things while we're trying to bring us together. Because we're now in a state where we don't have that time to massage one thing. And that's also a problem. You know, it's just so many things at one time that be dealt with, to be honest with you, all at one time. Bringing back community, you know, becoming a vigilante. I'm just kidding. Doing what you need to do. So I need a snack or something. Go ahead. I'll just end it right there because I'm thinking all kinds of thoughts.
Gio, give us some parting wisdom.
Okay. Well, I love how she equates the hate to the that can consume you, to the consumption of hydrogen in the sun. Eventually it's going to burn out, but what is it, you know, taken with it? And so that's the same thing. So what are you going to, how can you positively channel that pain and those negative emotions that are created by what's happened to you? She writes, right? She tells her story. She doesn't have to tell all, you know, names, but there, because it's such a common occurrence, perhaps it is enough right now to make the public aware. Yeah, this is going on in these egghead communities. Right. And so educate your young people that when they're sent, you know, away to these colleges and these places where people don't look like them, don't have the same values as they do, don't value other people the way they may have been raised, that you need to protect yourself, right? Everyone who smiles in your face is not your friend, does not have your best interest at heart. As I think in the article she wrote about this in the Scientific American, where she said she actually wrote to, can Neil be the same person I wrote to and he gave me all this great advice?
Right.
See, that's not right.
You know, so you have to be, and being young comes with a certain amount of naivety, right? You want things to be, you know, the way you dream of them. And then something ugly comes in and messes it all up. And now you have the choice of whether to take that tragedy, that all that negative energy, and convert it into something that might be life-giving instead of how it was meant, which was to destroy. So, and these are the choices we're given. And so I would encourage everyone to start with your young people that you're around and, you know, give them some tools to address stuff that might happen. You know, you better think about it, you know. Right. Think about what could happen in these different circumstances that you might find yourself in. What will you do, to protect yourself? And if something happens to you, what will you do to help yourself survive? Because it's about surviving. And like
Yes.
Michelle, your mom, those beautiful words that have kept women and generations going for hundreds of years. Keep on living.
Amen.
There you go.
Thank you, Gio. That was beautiful. Really beautiful. All right, women. Let's call it a night. We got through a very difficult subject. But I'm so glad, I'm so glad that Chanda included that chapter in the book. And I think I said to Venita, I said, you really see why she calls it a disordered cosmos, because stuff is just, stuff is just all wrong. Just all wrong. On so many levels.
Yeah.
All right. So see you next week with the next chapter, reading our story together.
Indeed. Have a beautiful week, ladies.
You as well. Stay cool.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Cool.
Bye.
Good night. Michelle.
Oh, yeah. Can you still hear me?
Are we still done recording?
Yeah. Let me hit the end button and see if that takes me out. What's that?